professional.
John always asked questions that nobody else asked. It irritated him that people were passive about, oh, this is what we're supposed to believe. Oh, good, we all believe it, you know. He didn't accept that.
His work on these experiences, did he see that as simply yet another professional challenge?
Originally, he was just curious about it. The first person who told him about it, he said, oh my goodness, they've got to be crazy. And the people who believe them and are interviewing them have really got to be crazy. This friend said, well, just give it a chance. Just talk to them. And I remember he came home and said, you know what? They're not crazy. I know mental illness. These people are not mentally ill. Something has happened. They've been traumatized in some way. And so he began to see that perhaps there were phenomena that occurred that we have no way of explaining.
How did you feel when he told you that he was going to be working with these people?
I didn't judge it. I mean, I had trouble accepting it because it was terrifying. He did it in our house. He didn't do it at the hospital. So people would come to the house, and he would do hypnotic regressions with them upstairs in Danny's bedroom. I think, this is my child's bedroom. These people are having these, you know, I could hear some of them screaming sometimes. I'm a therapist. I've had people cry and scream and hide behind the sofa and climb into closets. But I didn't understand what these people were going through. I couldn't see them. I could only hear their voices. I mean, I'd see them when they'd come in, and they looked like very healthy, normal, pleasant people.
You must have worried, though, that it was perhaps making him look academically foolish.
I did, but I also admired him tremendously. He wasn't frivolous about it. He really studied it. He really thought about it. I thought he had guts. I just thought, that's amazing that he's willing to do this. Part of it was his own determination not to be pushed around and intimidated. And part of it was his incredible compassion for the people who were, quote, different.
I'm getting all these flashbacks of all these different things, John.
Whatever needs to come will come. Just let it come, whatever it is.
10 years ago, hypnotic regression was an accepted psychiatric tool, and it was often used by John Mack and others to help unlock a patient's forgotten or suppressed memories.
Where are you right now?
Oh my shit.
Peter Faust underwent this technique during some of his sessions with Mack.
They look in my eyes. They tell me not to be afraid, don't be afraid.
Today, hypnotic regression is considered an unreliable memory retrieval technique. Harvard psychologist Dr. Richard McNally.
Hypnosis does have its uses. So, for example, it can be often effective in reducing pain. The problem with hypnosis is what it does is people will generate material that they often mistake for being genuine memories, but the accuracy of the material generated is likely to be incorrect is correct. And so this is not a technique that people should be using. Granted, throughout the 1990s, it was used a lot and occasionally still is by people who are unfamiliar with the pitfalls of hypnosis as a memory retrieval technique.
There's a very large number of people who've had these experiences who do not have to access them with hypnosis. The only thing a regression or a relaxation allows us to do is to find missing pieces. Like we'll have like spot memories, like we'll remember the beginning of it and bits and pieces of the middle that we can take out, and then remember the end being popped back in or something. And if we're trying to figure out, all right, where's the rest of it, the regression can be useful in that way.
During formal sessions with an experiencer, John Mack always had a colleague with him. One such colleague was Dr. Jeff Rudiger, who, apart from being a fellow psychiatrist, is also the medical director at the McLean Psychiatric Hospital in Belmont, Massachusetts.
John never saw abductees alone, and so we saw many individuals together over a period of probably 4 years.
There has been some question about the reliability of hypnosis during these procedures. Is that valid criticism?
It's very valid. Hypnosis is controversial, and understandably so. John did not understand what he was doing as really being hypnosis. He believed that what he was doing was relaxing people so that they could talk about what they'd experienced without their defenses coming to the fore so quickly.
Jeff Rudiger is also a theologian, so I asked him if the reports from alien abductees could be compared to a religious experience or vision.
I think that's an excellent question and one that's not easy to answer. When people would talk about the experiences they were having, sometimes they would talk about these experiences as being tangibly real phenomena with material beings that they believed they were interacting with. Other times they used language more appropriate to dream states and visions that they had. Sometimes people were asleep when they had these experiences, sometimes they were awake and it was broad daylight. John struggled for many years with whether these experiences are best understood as metaphorical or objectively real. The worldview subscribed to by the Western religions, in my opinion, also has had some difficulties around how to interpret spiritual experience. The direction in which John began to move, especially in later years, I believe, was to look at some of the structures of consciousness appropriated by some of the Eastern cultures. John was fascinated by those ways of understanding the world and spent many years, especially the last decades of his life, trying to understand those.
This doesn't belong in any discipline, as it doesn't belong in mental health, it doesn't belong in physics, it doesn't belong in religion, it doesn't belong in anthropology, it doesn't belong in history of science, and yet each of those disciplines has something to contribute. The point is that if something doesn't fit our notions of reality, and yet the people that are having an experience that doesn't fit are of sound mind, or sincere, or nothing to gain, or in effect opening to other realities, then it seems to me the responsibility of academicians as well as theologians is to begin to question our notions of reality.
Psychologist Richard McNally took another viewpoint. He thought there was a simpler, more rational explanation. So he conducted research into false memory syndrome and post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, on Vietnam veterans. He discovered what he believed was the answer John Mack had been looking for.
We've arrived, I think, at a recipe for an alien abductee. First of all, I agree with Mack that these people are not lying. We did psychiatric assessments on them, and they are not mentally ill. So what's going on? What we found, the sort of typical profile, is someone who has the following characteristics. First, they endorse a wide range of New Age beliefs. So alien encounters is just one among many beliefs that they endorse. Second, they're characterized by absorption, a personality trait that is linked to fantasy proneness. They have a rich imagination. A third factor is that they are familiar with the alien abduction narrative. Then, I think a key factor is that they have episodes of sleep paralysis accompanied by hypnopompic, upon awakening, hallucinations, and this is a key factor. During one of these episodes, what happens is as follows. The person is awakening from rapid eye movement sleep, REM sleep, the stage of sleep when we do most of our dreaming. But in one of these episodes, the person begins to awaken, their eyes open, and they are fully aware of the fact that they're paralyzed and cannot move. Most people find this quite terrifying. Now, during one of these episodes, the person will often experience the intrusion of REM mentation into wakefulness. They are dreaming with their eyes open. So they will sense a presence in the room. They'll often hear footsteps. They'll feel tingling sensations through their body, a feeling of levitation. They might hear buzzing sounds or lights flashing. Moments later, they'll become fully awake. They can move again. The hallucinations vanish. And they wonder, what was that? This is quite a traumatic event for them initially. In fact, when we've studied these people in the laboratory, when they hear audio taped scripts of their quote-unquote abduction memories, they show heightened physiologic reactivity. Their heart starts pounding. They start sweating. Their facial grimacing occurs, all measured by monitors revealed on our computers to be just as reactive as someone with, say, combat trauma from the Vietnam War.
If it's known within medical circles, psychiatrists, psychologists, I assume, why didn't John Mack take that into consideration?
I've raised this topic with him as well. I says, John, this is sleep paralysis. These are hypnopompic hallucinations, etc. And his reply would be, well, but some of our alien encounters occur outside of sleep.
So where does this leave